Good morning, friends. Greetings and welcome to The Bright Side, your nutritional program dedicated to the understanding of the vast world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. I'm your host, Pharmacist Ben, nutritional pharmacist from Boulder, Colorado. I use nutritional supplements where other healthcare practitioners use toxic pharmaceutical drugs and sometimes deadly medical procedures if you suspect that there are natural nutritional roads to your health and vitality and well-being, and to addressing your health challenges, whatever they may be. But you don't know where to begin, you have come to the right place. As you listen to The Bright Side every day, you are more and more in control of your body. You are more and more knowledgeable, and you know you can overcome any health challenge. That is why we are here every day on The Bright Side, helping clear up the sometimes confusing world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. Over the last 33 years practicing pharmacy, I've seen drug-free recoveries from diabetes, hypertension, obesity, skin diseases like acne, psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, digestive ailments, autoimmune issues of all kinds, recoveries that by the standards of modern medicine can only be called a miracle, but what is in the world of the body, what is in the world of biology, standard operating procedure, because the human biological system is a healing system, it's a regenerating system. It is designed divinely to heal and renew itself on a moment-to-moment basis. And while some folks may call that a miracle, it really is just the way the body works. If you have questions about health, nutrition, prescription drugs, if you want to wean yourself off your meds and get on a good nutritional supplement program, we welcome your phone calls. 844-236-6010. 844-236-6010 is our number if you have questions or comments about our True Skin Health products or their longevity products, or if you just have a comment or success story. 844-236-6010 is our number on The Bright Side. If you want to purchase Truth Treatments, go to truthtreatments.com. If you want to purchase longevity products, go to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. And don't forget to click on the Join the Team link if you want to start a longevity business for a one-time $30 fee. You can be in business for yourself. You can click on the Join the Team link at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. You can also call 866-735-2470, 866-735-2470 if you would like to speak to a real person, 866-735-2470. Our number today, 844-236-6010. We've been talking about the nature of belief systems in health, memes as we call them, memes in health, myths in health, silly myths, antibiotics for rashes and drugs to lower cholesterol to prevent heart attacks, because of course everybody knows cholesterol causes heart attacks. Present company excluded. If you talk to 99% of people out there, they would say, yeah, cholesterol causes heart attacks, and statin drugs will save me from having a heart attack. So will not eating eggs, because eggs contain cholesterol. And everybody knows cholesterol causes heart disease. No. Just because everybody knows it doesn't mean it's true. When everybody knows something that's not true, you can rest assured you're dealing with a meme. You're dealing with a belief, a mind virus. If you put moisturizer on your dry skin, despite the fact that no moisturizer has ever made a whit's bit of difference in your dry skin except for maybe a couple of minutes, you bought into the meme that moisturizers are important for dry skin. If you don't eat eggs because you're worried about your heart, you bought into the meme. You've been infected by the virus. You're not paying attention to the science or the mechanisms. You bought into the memes. If you're wearing a sunscreen, because of course everybody knows that SPF, the higher your SPF, the more effective your sunscreen and the less your skin's going to age. No, that's not true. That's a meme. Sunscreens are toxic chemicals. SPFs are not a measurement of your of the potency of a sunscreen. They're a measurement of time. You've gotten the flu vaccine. Do we know the flu vaccine works? You can get the flu when you have the flu vaccine. You can get measles when you have the measles vaccine. These myths have a life of their own. And there's usually somebody or some company that's benefiting from their promotion. That's why we say we're infected, because it's like a virus. Sunscreen companies infect us. Drug companies infect us. The medical model infects us. The myths of the medical model, the memes of the medical model. Memes are, the word meme, M-E-M-E, it indicates a component or a piece of memory. Meme is to memory the way gene is to genetics. A gene is a component of genetics. A meme is a component of memory. Genes pass themselves on generation to generation through the culture, through the society. That's called genetics. Memes pass themselves through the culture and through the society, through the generations, and that's called memetics. Genetics and memetics. Memetics is technically defined by Wikipedia as the study of information and culture based on an analogy with Darwinian evolution. In other words, memes evolve. Memetics is the science of how memes evolve. The way genetics is the science of how genes evolve. Now, if you bought into memes, if you bought into the concept of memes, and you want to somehow disinfect yourself, which I recommend, protect yourself, you want to study information, mechanisms, really, how things work. This is why you want to read ingredient decks. I've been in the world of skincare now for 30 plus years formulating, and it still blows me away how people don't read ingredient decks on their products. I want you to read my ingredient decks on my Truth Treatments. I encourage you to read my ingredient decks on my Truth Treatments because my ingredient decks represent a mechanism that works. When you see the ingredient decks and you understand the nature of how the skin works, how products work, you're going to love the truth. You're going to love my Truth Treatments. I make my products for critical thinkers, for people who want to who are inoculated from memes by understanding mechanisms, how things work. When you eat your food, when you eat a power bar, when you eat your cereal, when you eat any processed food, do we read the ingredient decks? First of all, you don't really want an ingredient deck on your food. That's a whole other story. Broccoli doesn't have an ingredient deck. But if you're going to eat a food, or if you're going to give your baby a food, like a baby formula, you want to read the ingredient deck. The ingredient deck is a clue to the mechanism of that food, of how that food's going to work. Again, you don't want a large ingredient deck. You don't want a large ingredient deck on your skincare products either, by the way. You want a small ingredient deck. You don't want a lot of ingredients. Memes cannot stand up to science, to scrutiny, to examination. You say, well, wait a minute. Every time I put a moisturizer on, my skin is drier than it was before. Well, let's see. If I ate a sunscreen, I'd probably die. If I ate the chemical, if I ate oxybenzone, I would die. If I ate octamethoxycinnamate, I would die. Is it a good idea, really, to rub it on my skin? That's interesting, huh? If you examine what you're doing, this is the way you protect yourself from memes. But see, the problem is our brains don't work that way. Our brains are economical. They work on shortcuts. In science, they call that heuristics, Heurestics. A heuristic is a mental shortcut. That's how the brain works. That's why we stereotype. We look at somebody and we see that they have a particular race or particular color. Boom. We go into all the ways that they are. That's economical. The problem is when we're confronted with manipulated information that's manipulated by people who understand how the brain works, they're called marketers, we become victims. And in the world of health, in the world of medicine, ideas are marketed to us. They're sold to us. There's a medical advertising hall of fame. How do you like that? A medical advertising hall of fame. What do you think they put you on the hall of fame of medical advertising for? It's not for being kind and gentle to your fellow man. No. It's for figuring out how to extract his money so he'll buy your drugs or your vaccines. These marketers know more about our brains than we do. They know more about how our brains work than we do. And same with, by the way, the chemists. There are food heuristics and there are chemical heuristics. The brain will smell a certain food and assume that food is good. Or the brain will interact with a specific chemical and it will assume that food's good. That's called an excitotoxin. That's what MSG is. The brain works on chemical memes, chemical myths, chemical shortcuts, chemical heuristics, as well as psychological heuristics. Point being is we want to protect ourselves from those. We want to avoid interaction if possible, and then if we have to interact, use information to disinfect. Memes of illness, or I should say memes of health, are the worst because they kill us. Always wear sunscreen. Vaccinations to prevent disease. Using test scores to prevent disease. Using test scores and medical protocols to be drugged. Race for the cure. Lower your cholesterol with poison drugs. These things will kill us eventually, these memes. Or at least shorten our life or at the very least make us miserable. Or our family, our friends, our loved ones. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll be back on the bright side right after this. back on the bright side. 844-236-6010 is our number. We've got lines open for you, 844-236-6010. If you have questions about the longevity products or the longevity business, our Truth Skin Health products, or if you have a comment or success story you'd like to share, 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll get your calls in our next segment. As we always do on the bright side, we're on the air Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 Pacific and 10 to 11 Central Time, and 24/7 on the archive page at brightsideben.com. You can purchase longevity products or sign up to join the Brightside Ben team at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com, or call 866-735-2470 for more information. We've been talking about the mythologies of just the memes of healthcare, the memes of illness and how we get sick, and everybody, we make all these assumptions. We just know about health and wellness. We know so much about health and wellness, and we're so sick. Obviously, there's a problem here. And the problem is that what we know is not necessarily what's true. What we know is what sells, is what promotes profits and promotes business. And I'm a capitalist. I don't want to rip on capitalism, but it's just something insidious about it when it has to do with our health. The blend of business and health makes strange bedfellows. The ways we think and talk about wellness, the assumptions we make, the unexamined beliefs from a big picture perspective need to be re-examined. We got to start looking at things from the perspective of chemistry and of mechanism. That's what this show is about. And I know it's a little bit more complicated than most radio shows where they tell you what to do. And they spew out the latest memes, the Dr. Oz's of the world and the Dr. Dina Dells of the world. And even alternative practitioners, by the way. There's memes out there in the world of alternative practitioners. So, sometimes people think that they're doing well because they don't buy into the medical model, but they buy into the alternative medical model, which is still a type of medical model. I personally think, as a healthcare professional, that if we can figure out what's going on in the body that's wrong and correct it, and if we can put the nutrients and the oxygen into the body, we won't need any fancy schmancy formulas or fancy schmancy herbs or fancy schmancy detoxes. The body's built. It's the good news here. The bad news is that business and health make strange bedfellows. The good news is the body is meant to be. The body is designed to be healthy. We are survivors. We're the descendants of ancestors whose bodies were evolved to survive, to adjust, homeostasis. Homeostasis is the ability of the body to pull the ups down and the downs up, to adjust like a thermostat. There's also something called allostasis, which means the body will adjust permanently to changes that are chronically occurring. That sometimes can be a problem, of course, as an insulin resistance. The body becomes resistant to things that it's chronically assaulted with. So the body's designed to be able to survive, to even thrive as a result of intelligent adjustment, intelligent computational adjustment that occurs at the tiniest of levels, at the levels of a cell. Cells, and that's really what it comes down to, folks. It's the cell. The cell, the cell, the cell. And I'm not talking about drugging the cell or poisoning the cell. Medicine can do that. That's how medicine works. That's why medicine has toxicity. It poisons the cell. I sometimes will say, just to get people's attention, that drugs are poison, that medicine's poison. But guess what? It is, literally. But people who don't listen to this radio program, or people who just bought into the meme that the doctor's always right and the doctor knows what he's doing, that's a meme, they get freaked out. What do you mean medicines are poisons? What do you mean? How can you say that medicines are? They're literally poisons. They're literally part of toxicology. Who the heck came up with that idea? That toxicology and pharmacology should be the same science. That healing the body should be toxing the body. How did that ever come to be? It came to be because we didn't respect the cell. We didn't understand, and even if we knew the cell existed, the cell was discovered around 1600, and really cell theories came around in like the beginning of the 1800s. We still didn't understand the chemistry, the electronics that's going on inside a cell at the tiniest of scales. At the tiniest of scales, a cell is like a computer chip. The way a computer chip has all those little wires, you look at your computer chip, You guys all know what a computer chip kind of looks like. It's got all those little tiny wires, and all those little tiny wires are little highways for electrons. They're little roads that electrons travel, and the electrons travel through those little etchings, those little lines on the chip, and the way they flow is controlled, and by virtue of that control, you get information that is stored. Cells do the same thing. They are computer chips. At the tiniest of scales, at the tiniest of electrons, or at the level of the electron, at the level of the quantum, the electron's a quantum, you have got a quantum computer chip. And all of this is happening instantaneously, essentially, across a cell. Listen, check this out. You've got trillions upon trillions upon trillions of computations that are occurring in the space of a little microscopic thing that is smaller than 1/100th the size of a head of a pin. You could fit 60 of them on a period at the end of a sentence, or 100 of them maybe. This is craziness, and we don't respect that. And we don't even know what that means. And you can't really know what it means, but you can imagine it. You can use your imagination. The changes in the cell are happening so fast that you can't possibly see them individually, like the frames of a movie. Movies happening 16. Movie frames are going at 16. I think 16 or 32 frames per second, something like that. Well, in a cell, you've got quadrillions of frames per second. That transcends time. There's no time in a cell. Inside a cell, there's essentially no time. Everything's happening at the same time. Try that one on for size. Without time, everything's invisible. Time and space go together. You've got no time, no space. You've got everything happening instantaneously. It's just the most amazing, absolutely mind-blowing, intelligent entity in the universe, the living biological cell. But we feel comfortable putting poisons in the body to drug it. Only an arrogant human being, it's the height of arrogance. Only human beings would ever do something like that. And it's just craziness to me. A cell is a tiny little intelligent computer. It's capable of learning. It's capable of making countless billions of trillions of computations per second. Choices. Yes, it's making choices. A computation is a choice. Do I go here or do I go there? It's doing it billions of trillions of times a second at the quantum level. And it's producing energy like a nuclear fission plant. It's producing energy like a high-tech nuclear reactor. How's that sound? Not only is it making these billions of trillions of computations, it's making energy like a nuclear reactor makes energy. It's creating molecules in energy-carrying molecules and energy-carrying particles, energy particles, I should say, in a factory-like fashion. It's literally turning matter into energy like a microscopic nuclear reactor, like a sub-microscopic nuclear reactor. And guess what? This is the almost unbelievable thing. The cell does it on its own. It does everything on its own. It's automatic. It's unbelievable how this thing works automatically. Now, of course, it does need a few little things from us, and that's the key. It's given up its ability to procure resources on its own and depends on us to give it the resources as well as a clean place to do its work. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll be back after this. All right, we're back on the bright side. I am Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number, and we do have lines open for you. 844-236-6010. We'll get your calls here momentarily. From the journal Science Daily, published in the Journal of the American Chemical the Journal of the American Chemical Society's Sustainable Chemistry and Engineering. Warm lignin from plants boosts the effectiveness of sunscreen. Lignins are phytonutrients. And I've been saying this for years, folks. The best way to protect yourself from the sun is to make sure you're eating your pigments and your veggies. And it's no accident that as we get older, our skin becomes much more fragile to the sun. And that's partially, at least, because we're not eating our vegetables. Our skin doesn't have the carotenoids it needs. It doesn't have the beta-carotene it needs. It doesn't have the lycopene it needs. It doesn't have the other carotene-like substances and flavonoid-like substances that act as pigments in plants. The pigments in plants protect the plant And the pigments in the plants protect us from the sun. They protect the plant from the sun naturally. They protect us from the sun when we eat those pigments. We eat the reds and the blues and the greens and the oranges. This is how we're supposed to be protected from the sun, by eating pigments as well as other nutrients. According to this article, lignans may have an effect. Lignans can actually boost the effectiveness of sunscreens. You can actually put lignans in the sunscreen. In fact, a good sunscreen formulation will have less sunscreen and more lignin and other plant nutrients. Lignans, by the way, are a class of phytonutrients that are found in fibery type veggies, broccoli and celery, and also in seeds. Flax seeds are a great source of lignin. Sometimes you'll see flaxseed oil. It says high lignin flaxseed oil. Go for the high lignin flaxseed oil. Lignin is basically a constituent of the part of the cell that's called the cell, or the part of the plant that's called the cell wall, the part of the plant cell that's called the cell wall. And they're really fascinating molecules, but they have an ability to trap the sun. Their structure, their chemical structure, is like a sunscreen. They actually are a natural sunscreen. Lignans are, in addition to carotene. So making sure you're eating your vegetables. According to this article, by the way, they're recommending you actually put sunscreen. You put lignans in your sunscreen product formulation. Scientists added compounds from a variety of sources: green coffee, soy, papaya, to sunscreens. They wanted to see if the various lignans would act as an enhancer, and indeed, what they found out that lignans can improve SPF, sun protection factors. By the way, sun protection factor, let's be clear here. I said before we went to break, I was talking about sun protection factor is not a measurement of the strength of a sunscreen. It's not. A 50 is not stronger than a 20. A 50 SPF is not stronger than a 20 SPF. What? What is he saying? 50 is a bigger number. Well, here's what it means. SPF, sun protection factor, refers to how much longer you can stay out in the sun. I know I've said this before, but for new listeners, or just to repeat, repetition is reinforcement. Sun protection factor, SPF, is a measurement of how much longer you can stay out in the sun. It's not a measurement of how strong a sunscreen is. So in other words, if you have, say you burn in 20 minutes. If you burn in 20 minutes normally, and if you wear an SPF of 10, you will burn in 20 minutes times 10, or 200 minutes. So an SPF of 10 will allow somebody who burns in 20 minutes to now be out in the sun for 200 minutes before burning. That is 3+ hours, 3 hours and 20 minutes, right? If you burn in 20 minutes and now you wear an SPF of 20, you will now burn in 20 times 20 minutes, which is 400 minutes, which is 6 hours and 40 minutes. Now, who is out in the sun for 6 hours and 40 minutes? Hardly ever. And what that means is you're now exposing yourself, or you're now forcing or confronting or interfacing your skin with a lot of nasty chemical. SPFs of sunscreens are nasty chemicals. They're not kind. They're not loving. They're toxic. If you drank octylmethoxycinnamate, that's the main sunscreen. And there was a study that came out on octylmethoxycinnamate. They shortened it to octinoxate because that was too hard to say, I guess. Octinoxate, OCTNIXOATE. And it's really important that we get, at least get comfortable, if not be able to completely say these things, to get comfortable with the words, get comfortable with the ingredients, because that's how they screw us. We're not comfortable with the words. They just throw them all out like word vomit, like letter vomit, and we don't pay any attention to it. So octylmethoxycinnamate, there was a study that came out in 2000, 19 years ago, where they showed that it was toxic. And, of course, the sunscreen industry got all freaked out about it, and they said, oh, no, that's a bad study, blah, blah, blah. But what you can't deny, you don't need a study for this, you can't deny if you drank octylmethoxycinnamate, you'd be dead. Yes, the same stuff that's in your sunscreen at 10% or 12% concentration, typically it's in there something like that, somewhere between 8 and 12% for most of them. 12%, let's say average 10%. If if you and the dermatologist, of course, wants you to slather it on because he doesn't understand chemistry. Dermatologists don't understand chemistry, I'm sorry to say, and I have a lot of friends who are dermatologists. They're good people, but they just don't understand chemistry. That's not their thing, it's chemistry. So octamethoxycinnamate at 10%, if you slathered it on, you're talking about probably a good 2 or 3 grams of the stuff because a slathered on is about an ounce or half an ounce. So say if it's half an ounce, it's 1.5 grams. If it's an ounce, it's 3 grams, somewhere in there. So somewhere like 2 grams or so of octamethoxycinnamate slathered on. If you drank that 2 grams, you get really sick. But it's fine to rub it on your skin. Why? Because, of course, we know that the skin is not part of the body, right? The skin has nothing to do with the body. So you can rub anything you want on the skin, not have to worry about it. Wrong. Sunscreens go into the skin, or into the blood, through the skin. We just talked about that a couple weeks ago. They go into the blood through the skin. So you're not going to get the full 2 grams into the blood. I understand that. But what about over and over and over again? What if you keep applying over and over and over again? So what I say is make sure you use nutrition. The nutrients will go into your digestive system. They'll go into your bloodstream. They'll travel through your bloodstream. And guess what? They'll go to your skin, and they'll protect your skin. That's why we have eye vitamins, because the eyes are subject to the same thing. The eyes are subject to the same kind of problem. So when you use vitamin C for your eyes, you'll get some in your skin. When you use zinc for your eyes, you'll get some in your skin. When you use NaC for your eyes and selenium and sulfur for your eyes, you'll get some in your skin. When you take pigments and carotenes for your eyes or for anything else, you'll get it in your skin. The eyes are technically, from a biochemistry and a biological standpoint, they're very similar to the skin. So eye vitamins, well, how does that work? It works because it goes into your bloodstream and then it goes into your eyes. The same thing happens when you do it for your skin. So the best sunscreen is going to be nutrients, internal nutrition and pigments and phytonutrients like lignans. And if you do those, you'll be able to use less nasty sunscreen. You'll find yourself burning much less readily. And ideally, under ideal circumstances, you won't even need a sunscreen. And if you absolutely positively have to use something topical, get zinc oxide. It's a sunblock, and it's not toxic. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll take a commercial break and come back with you and your phone calls right after this. Don't go away. Okay, we're back. 844-236-6010 is our number. You're listening to The Bright Side. What's going on? Carl, the Truth Raider. What's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
Hey, good morning, sir. I got to just briefly introduce what my question was about the subject matter about myasthenia gravis and muscular dystrophy. Now, I don't know if you remember this story.
Let's before you continue here. Myasthenia gravis. Doesn't that sound like a funny name?
Yes.
What does it mean?
Myasthenia.
What's my? What is the part that's my? M-Y.
Yeah,
what does that mean usually?
Well, it's ourself, or it's auto.
No. My is the prefix for muscle.
Oh,
Myo
okay.
means muscle, right? So myo,
okay.
and this is really interesting because what happens when you start to break these names down, what you discover is they're just a description of what's happening. It's not like it's a specific diagnosis. It's like fibromyalgia means you got muscle pain in your fibers. So the doctor just spits back to you what you have, what your problem is in Latin, and we call that a disease. It's really kind of stupid when you think about it. Myo means muscle, okay? Asthenia comes from astha in the Greek, which means weak. And gravis means serious. So myasthenia gravis means I got seriously weak muscles. That's what it means. What the heck? That's a disease. And they actually have the nerve to classify it as a disease. Seriously weak muscles. This is stupidity when you think it. You know see what I'm saying? You go to the doctor, you go, Doc, my muscles are really weak. And so he says, oh, you have myasthenia gravis. What is that?
Yeah.
It means you got weak muscles. It's like, thanks a lot, Doc. Do you see the stupidity of this? Can you see how ludicrous this idea of diagnosis and doctoring is? You know you got weak muscles. You don't need him to tell it to you in Latin. But when he tells it to you in Latin, now you get to wear a T-shirt that says, I have myasthenia gravis. And you get to wear a baseball hat. and you get to join the club, the team, the myasthenia gravis team.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you have a race for the cure for myasthenia gravis. And the Myasthenia Gravis the Seriously Weak Muscle Foundation and Association. I mean, I'm laughing. It's not funny, but it's just ridiculous. It's ironic. It's silly. Do you see the craziness of the medical model? So you got weak muscles. Okay, so why are the muscles weak? Because the muscle cells aren't getting what they need. Why are the muscle cells not getting what they need? Because they don't have the food. They don't have the oxygen, and they're toxic. And over time, they break down. Fibers start to form. You get more weakness. You get more muscles, more suffocation, and more death, cell death, more fibrosis, and more lack of oxygen, and more lack of nutrition, and on and on and on it goes. It's not the diagnosis is irrelevant. We just got to figure out the mechanism. The diagnosis is the meme. Okay, go ahead. I didn't mean to jump all over you there, but isn't that kind of interesting, Carl, the Truth Raider?
Yeah, wear a baseball cap and you become the most valuable player of the condition.
The Myasthenia Gravis Club. Yeah. Where is reality created? This is very interesting because there are magicians, black magicians, that create reality for us. Do you know how they do that? You know how reality is created? It's created in language, in words. It's magic. That's why they call it a magic spell. S-P-E-L-L, spell. In magic, you know what the book of magics, the book of witchcraft and the book of magic is called a grimoire, as in grammar. A grimoire comes from the word grammar comes from the word grimoire. All this is just black magic, using diagnoses and words and memes and beliefs and injecting ideas into the culture. It's terrible. It's nasty. But through understanding and through knowledge, we can inoculate ourselves against this nastiness. Go ahead, Carl.
Like a famous researcher would say, you're exactly right.
Thank you.
That's it.
All right.
So anyway, why I'm bringing it up, because I told you a story briefly a few years ago. You might have forgotten about it, but I called in because I was concerned if there was some genetic component, because my grandmother, who was very healthy.
To what? Genetic component?
At the age of 59 or 60, she had weakness in her legs all of a sudden, and she fell down the stairs.
She's fallen apart.
And broke both of her hands.
That's terrible.
She fell straight and broke both of her hands.
That's terrible, but it happens to all of us. We fall apart, Carl.
Right, and what happened was she wound up being diagnosed with either muscular dystrophy, coupled with myasthenia gravis, and within 5 years she was dead. I mean, the whole body, all the muscles are slowly shutting down. And her heart
her body just deteriorated. By the way, there's another disease that used to happen to people back in the 40s, 30s, 40s, 20s, and supposedly was cured. And it was very similar to myasthenia gravis. Do you know what it was called?
What's that?
Polio.
Oh, yeah.
The polio vaccine, of course, worked because it eliminated polio. But seemingly, mysteriously, by coincidence, at the same time, myasthenia gravis was invented. There was no myasthenia gravis in the 20s and the 30s. You didn't hear about that, right? But polio disappeared, and all of a sudden we have myasthenia gravis.
Right.
Do you see the craziness? We're just utter ludicrous nature of how we treat ourselves. Forget the names. Forget the polio and the myasthenia gravis. You got to focus on building, on anabolism, catabolism and anabolism, building and breaking up. That's not a meme. That's science. Okay. That's biochemistry. That's how the body works. It breaks down or it builds up. You can call it myasthenia gravis. You can call it Alzheimer's disease. You can call it polio. But really what it is, it's net breakdown. Your bottom line is in the red. You want to switch that around so your bottom line is in the black and you're net anabolic. How do you become net anabolic? By removing toxicity, by adding in nutrition, and by making sure you're breathing. And by the way, do not underestimate the power of breathing. I know I talk about it a lot, SDR breathing. But as far as energy goes, as far as the support of the body's electrical system, as far as blood delivery goes, as far as detoxification goes, slow, deep breathing is so important, and we hardly ever do it. There's a very good possibility that our diseases are basically suffocation. You know, if you don't have oxygen, it doesn't matter what kind of nutrients you have because the oxygen is required to create energy. The nutrients help. The macronutrients are the raw materials for energy. The micronutrients help support the movement of energy, but nothing happens without oxygen. So simply by practicing slow, deep breathing, just that alone. When I talk about doing slow, deep breathing, I am talking about 25 times, just all the way deep breathing. I mean, I'll bet, Carl the Truth Raider, I'll bet you haven't even done it once in 2 weeks, if maybe even longer. A slow, long, deep breath where your belly goes all the way out, all the way, and your rib cage expands all the way, and you suck it back in and you exhale all of that toxicity out. When was the last time you did that even once? And I'm not picking on you because nobody has. I have to remember to do it all the time. I got to remind myself. When I'm tired, that's when I remember. As soon as I feel a little bit tired, just activate that. The key is the diaphragm. You want the diaphragm going down. That's what it's all about. And in order for that to happen effectively, the belly has to go out and the rib cage has to expand. That's how you do an SDR breath, a slow, deep breath. You want to do it slowly, and you want to do it in a rhythm. And I guarantee you, if you did it 25 times, you will feel like a new person. Myasthenia gravis, ALS, polio, Alzheimer's disease, whatever it is. To anybody out there listening who has a friend or a loved one, a father, grandfather, grandmother who has Alzheimer's dementia, if you can get them to practice SDR breathing, 25 slow, deep 25 breaths, slow, deep, rib cage expand. Watch what happens in front of your very eyes. Now, obviously, they can't do it all the time, but just it gives you a sense of the kind of power we have over how our body shows up. It gives you a sense of the possibilities that are available to us with something as simple as the breath. And the Bible says, nearer than the breath am I. What does that refer to? The fact that the breath is so close to us. Nothing is closer than the breath. That is our God-given tool for good health that's put right into our bodies, and we have access to it anytime we like, anytime during the day. And how many of us are leveraging that? I hope I answered your question, Carl. I know I just went off on my high horse there, and we're out of time. So, but thank you for bringing all that up. I appreciate it, and you have a good day. Good to talk to you, Carl. Thanks so much. All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening to The Bright Side, friends. Check out our websites, brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com for the longevity products. Got new products also coming up at truthtreatments.com, and got some. We're retooling the website, so if you haven't checked it in a while, keep looking back at truthtreatments.com, truthtreatments.com. Thanks for listening to The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Have a wonderful, beautiful, awesome, spectacular day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.